Call the meeting to order.
Jenkins?
Here.
Harden?
Here.
Hahn?
Here.
Tessari?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How are we gonna do this, Mayor?
Well, like what we've done in the past, I'm gonna go page by page,
Okay.
and then we'll ask questions as we do it. I'll call the page in order. If there are additional questions in the end, we'll fill those. If you have a question related to a page, please feel free to ask it during that time. So with that, I don't think we're going to do the cover page. We're going to go straight to page 1, General Fund Revenues. In regards to this page, are there any questions?
I have a couple.
Yes, sir.
The SRO reimbursement.
Got it?
Okay, are we involved in that or what? We got a $14,500 on a 15-16 budget.
Correct.
And then we got a $12,000. Now, is this center column, it says estimated 2015, 2016. Is that actual?
That's what the estimated expenses are going to run us. So
Yeah,
this is what we budgeted, this is
Our
what we
revenue.
believe it is going to end up as.
Okay,
Those
we're-
columns get estimated out because we do this before the end of the year is, so you can average it out and get it pretty close, Mac. But right now the SRO program is being looked at again by the school. So, I mean, this is something that could potentially be dropped and
Okay,
fall
well, I
off
thought-
of here, so.
I thought you told me the other day that we weren't involved in it.
No, they reimburse us, Mac,
They
but
reimburse us.
payroll comes through the city, so you're gonna have a line item.
Okay.
So she's actually part of the police department?
She is the police department, yes, but under contract, she is paid by the school.
Okay.
So payroll comes through the city.
Next one is on pool admissions. 15, 16 is 37,000. Whatever our line column 2 is, we're a little less than 26,000. Got $11,000 discrepancy there. And then the budget for, I guess, this year's 20,000. Now, we're $17,000 difference between the budget in 15, 16 versus 16, 17. We have
People aren't coming to the pool.
okay,
I mean, that's point blank.
okay,
And what we need to do is we need to somewhere find some ways to make some enticements to get people to go up there. But you got water parks in the area and stuff, and we're still running the same municipal pool, so.
It was colder last year, as I recall. And the year before that was a lot hotter, and that's going to make a play.
And part of what you're seeing also, see the line below it where it
Full
says concessions? They were all in one. I want to pull them out so we can see what money we're losing in concession or gaining in concession. So that was pulling those out.
that was my next
That was my
question. How we go from 0 to 10,000 in revenue?
Because, just because I think it's necessary to be separated, I've just got to get her on board to keep it all separated.
Okay, so they were bundled together, now we're just
Yes.
breaking them out for clarity. That makes sense to me. Okay.
Summer Festival, got a question on that. We go from 7,000, 15, 16 to 40,000, 16, 17. Now, is this,
Well, it looks like a lot of that was based on what we actually brought in. So that's
is this actual?
This is
brought
what
in?
we budgeted. This is 37,903 is, well, it's going to be the actual most likely.
Yeah.
Because we're not receiving any more income for the year. So this is what we brought in.
Okay.
The summer festival is Heritage Day.
Heritage Days.
They brought in $40,000 last year.
No, they brought in $37,903.
How did that work out? Who's handling the money? Does the newspaper make it sound like there's a third party handling the money?
I didn't see the article. I mean, the money comes to us.
No. The committee itself handles the money. We have nothing to do with it. The only reason why we're involved with it at all is so that they can use our tax number. That's it. It keeps us totally out of the liability for insurance and everything. All we do is donate the money. But because they use our tax number, it has to go through our books. So what happens with that is all I get is a bank statement saying this amount was deposited, this amount was expenditures. That's where the revenue and expenses come from, is a bank statement.
So this is not total revenue after what's spent?
No, this is just income. Then if you look, it zeroes out because the line item for expenses is the same amount. So I just try to make it zero out because basically it has nothing to do with us as a city. They have their own committee. They take care of it. All we do is try to keep track of it.
Except they're using our tax number.
And that's to help them out. I really feel that they should get their own tax number.
You know, in order for them to get some of the donations that they seek, like from Monsanto and that, they have to have a tax number. And so, and when this originally started, that was an easier process for them to get those donations right away when they're starting from zero. So, and it's just never changed. I think where we are, 4th year of Heritage Days, like that. So maybe I'll write on it.
Only my concern is that it looks like taxpayer money, and I'm not sure it's legal to have a third party handle taxpayer money. So we may want to look at the legality of that.
We can check into it, and I'm not sure when you say third party, but
Because they would be a committee of the city.
they are a committee of the city. They were officially recognized by the city a couple of years ago as a standing committee that allowed them to, at the original time, operate under our insurance, with some of our liability insurance covers what they do.
But they're keeping this in a separate bank account from the city's money.
But we get the
Bank statement.
statements, so we can track their expenses. And I understand your concerns.
Yeah, I think it might be worth it to definitely look into breaking it out on their own tax city. Because I mean, we give, like this year, we gave $15,000, so we gave that money, so it's not city money at that point. But since it does go through the books, I get what you're saying.
It looks like you're giving it back to the city.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But then on the
And then the
expenditures,
expenditure comes out of the city too, so it looks like it's double.
Right. So that 3793, that's sponsorships. That's all the money that they brought in for fundraising and things like that as well.
It's not hard for them to get their own tax number. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I think we need to look at the legality of that.
And then our budget this year for them was 15.
We gave them what? Did we?
10.
10.
You used to do
Excuse me,
10.
10. I apologize. 10.
Okay, that's all right.
I was thinking something else that cost 15. So yeah, 10.
I don't know, I'm just a lay person here. Are these numbers at the bottom, they're all 397,900, is that?
That's for interfund office transfers. That's for us to do all the books for the enterprise funds, which are the water, sewer, and electric. That's for us to do their payroll, to book, so they in turn pay us back. That helps out the general fund. And this again is the revenue line. So this is money coming in.
Okay.
Any other questions to page 1?
I just have one comment on the state gaming, the 4244. Larry, good job on the estimation on that, because I know last year we had some questions about that and everything, and you estimated it properly. You and Ruth did, so thank you guys on being good foreseers there. But then the other questions Matt hit mine. So.
Any other questions? Page 2, administration. Are there any questions or comments? Moving on to page 3, and this is administration expenditures. Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, the Summer Festival 650, that's where that is right there, the 4th item down, to zero out the revenue. So, but that's, we already talked about that. So, and then sent an email asking this question, which is on 929, 511-929, the miscellaneous expenses. Larry, could you just tell us again what comes in and out of that?
Well, there again, you see that some of the other lines are pretty light. Miscellaneous expenses could be a little bit of everything. It could be from maintaining this building. You know, this is administration, and administration has to maintain this building itself. So you can have, whether it's light bulbs, you can have any type of janitorial supplies. A piece of equipment could fall over inside City Hall that was unanticipated. And so that's what miscellaneous expenses are.
Gotcha. This is kind of rainy day fund in a way, or the
Yeah.
catch-all fund.
In essence, you might say that.
Okay.
Page 4, city council.
Can we step back for just a second on this,
Yes.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Back to miscellaneous expenses. Mac was in here the other day, and I had said something to Mac about this room. We have outgrown this room. And I talked to Mac about knocking that wall out and making the council room larger, which would take it back, and we would gain a whole bunch of seating. So you could have this large square area, this could be overflow seating. That is something that could possibly come out of miscellaneous expenses if it looks like we'll have the money to do that. And I think that remodel, because a lot of that work's already done, I think that could probably be done for maybe $5,000, and you'd have a much larger council room, because there again, you get 15 people in here, we've got a packed house. So, but that's the type of thing that, so.
Page 4, city council.
On our legal fees, I was just figuring it would be a little higher than that.
Legal fees generally come out of administration.
Okay.
Mac.
It doesn't come out of this.
Now, if you look, you'll see that administration has legal fees and police department has legal fees. Generally, we don't list legal fees under the council. So in essence, you guys aren't paying the bills when it comes to that part of it.
There's something on this page here that I want to bring up, and it's going to be on camera, and they're not going to like it, but this top issue of salaries for the council people, I'm going to suggest that we get a little bit of a raise. What that is, I don't know. But
That would, well, what happens on that is you can vote for a raise, but you can't get it on your term. You'd have to be reelected. And I think that is a good idea to look forward to on especially on the council that comes up behind us. Now, if you were to get reelected, you would, whatever increase was voted on, you'd receive it at
I don't necessarily talk about me.
No, it's the future council.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because what we've dealt with in the last year, I think we deserve it. And what it will also do, if you put little dollars out there, you're going to create interest. And we won't have a problem with getting people to run.
That'd be something, of course, we would not deal with here. You would deal with that
Well, it still have to be put into the budget.
no,
Somewhere along
not
the
this
way.
year, not this year.
Okay.
Because, we have it'd be Scott's position, your position next year. That would fall under next year's budget. So we would move to do that by ordinance. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
You do that by ordinance?
Yes, sir.
And then, if approved, the following year's budget, for whoever receives those seats, if you receive your seat again, then you will receive a raise at that time. So, and I do think that's something that needs to be visited. So, good. Anything on page 5?
What's the supplemental insurance down there? Is that like a life insurance policy? Or what is
Yes.
that?
Yes, it is. Part of the FOP contract, the original FOP contract, had for a small term life insurance policies for the 3 members.
So that's just for the full-timers, correct?
3 FOP, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Now we're on page 5, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Okay, on the overtime for the police department. Let's see, we're up for 36,000 some odd dollars. If I remember correctly, when we went from 3 full-time officers to 4 full-time officers, the overtime was about $35,000 to $38,000. And one of the reasons we did that is to cut back on some of the overtime. Doesn't look like it's working. So I would really, we're going through a budget here. I would like our supervisors to really look into being frugal with the money.
Can we pass a policy to do away with overtime on the police department? We've got part-time officers, right?
No, I don't think you could pass a policy like that. And when it comes, yeah, you have part-time police officers, but some of them live Gibson City or even further. So if they're not always available to work, and most of them are full-time police officers somewhere else, aren't they?
You have
So-
two part-time officers, and one of them is your student resource officer, so she's already under contract with the school. So that knocks you down to 1. And Mac, I did talk to the chief about this because overtime is always an issue, and that he can show you that the caseload is increased, so it's not like every year that their volume of calls continue to go up, so there's more demand, and then the overtime is for obvious various reasons. If your caseload goes up, you're going to have more court time. If a guy takes off, somebody's got to cover for him. So, I mean, there's just all kinds of things that play into the overtime.
I understand, and there's always a reason. But we're looking at numbers here, and the numbers now versus the numbers 4 years ago. When did we go to 4?
Probably so.
Okay, are the same, about. So that was one of the reasons we went to that 4th officer, was we were going to knock this down a little bit.
And some of this, keep in mind, some of this is because your chief was off for 2.5 months, and that created overtime that really was unanticipated. So
The police budget's taking a big jump. I think we need to look at that pretty closely.
This is the CENTCOM. I was looking at this here, and this is 70,000. Somebody reported on Facebook it was 90,000. But part of that budget, Scott, is for, I think I talked to you about that.
We did.
And I was $20,000 off going by Facebook, so.
Facebook's not right all the time?
Yeah, I wouldn't get up.
It's a shock.
that's still a big chunk of change.
It is.
That is something that the other departments don't face, is something that you don't physically see where your money's going, that you're paying Stephanie Graham for. So.
But that hasn't changed from the previous budget to this budget.
No, but that's subject to change at any time because they're now renewing the CENTCOM agreements. And so anything that pertains to CENTCOM, you pay 12% of. So be prepared.
Anything on page 5? Page 6?
What is the DUI purchases? Is that equipment?
Yes. The DUI fund is a separate fund and has allowed the chief to make equipment purchases back there. This year they went out and had a copying machine, a nice Xerox copying machine. They're paying for that out of the DUI fund. I believe that they bought an additional taser, so the SRO officer would have a taser.
Sure.
So they've used that money very wisely. It keeps money in the outstanding budget.
The money in the DUI fund is stated when that started to be used for anything that's not budgeted.
Okay.
But in order to keep track of it, because we have to keep track of all expenses, that's where that line item comes from.
That's fine.
I've been questioning about the police department's total budget. And I'm not standing up for or against either way, but in the local paper, it had Leroy's. Leroy's close to here. They're growing a little more rapidly than we are. But we're at 456 with a $70,000 to Syncom. So that puts us around, what, 380? Their budget was almost $750,000. According to the newspaper report, they have 7 full-time officers versus our 4. I don't know if we're in line or not, but it seems like we're pretty well in line, based on what I read about Leroy's. So I just want to throw that in there.
Vehicles, I assume we'll sell the old ones off.
Trade-ins? Yes.
How many vehicles do we have in the fleet?
4. They range from a 2006, and I've got the mileage report laying on my desk. They range from a 2006 to a 2012. The city bought one of those cars. One car, the other cars were either purchased through the DUI fund, or Monsanto several years ago got us the Explorer at no charge. So out of the police budget, city budget, only one car was purchased. So now they're looking at a lease program, so where every 3 years we just turn them back in and get a different vehicle.
Do the guys take the cars home with them?
Generally speaking, not everybody, because you have an officer that lives in Champaign. So, but generally speaking, yes, for a quicker response, they take the car home.
How often do they get called out?
I can't.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. The fire department has a pretty quick response, but they don't take the fire trucks home with them. So I'm wondering, why do our police department do it? I mean, they only live a block or 2 away.
Well, that started several years ago when you don't have 24/7 coverage, you have officers on call. And, every minute matters. I think that the average response, and I don't want to go back here against the fire department, but, the average response for volunteer firemen is anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes.
Right.
And in the middle of a domestic, or if there's an armed robbery, 5 to 7 minutes could save somebody's life. Same with on a fire call or an ambulance call. And so that was to cut down response time. 2 o'clock in the morning when the officer goes home because it's an on-call shift, you don't want that officer to get his gear on, then have to drive up here and get a squad car so then he can return to go back to the same side of town that he resides on.
Yeah, if he's on call, I understand taking it home.
Yeah, we're just on call. Aren't they?
Officers are always on call, that's correct.
All right.
And they're not allowed to use them for personal use, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Page 6. Page 7. Streets.
Well,
Yes, sir.
it's going to apply to all of them, just because the health insurance is going up. But I know our company does it too. It seems like we continue to grow every year with our insurance, but what they do to try to keep us the same is they may adjust the deductible. Instead of being a $3,000 deductible, they may bump it up to $3,500 or $4,000. Keeps us from paying any extra. I don't know if you guys have looked at any of that or not.
We haven't gotten anything from the insurance company yet, Scott, so I can't really honestly answer your question.
Sure.
That generally won't come out for another 45 days, so we never know what they're going to throw at us.
Well, and that's just, it's like that everywhere.
So you just kind of have to plan for it.
Sure.
I think it's something we're going to have to look into.
It's not that large an increase when you spread it across everybody, but, it just continually keeps growing. That's all I have on that page.
Page 8. page 9. I think one of the things I'd like to point out for the camera is as we're looking at the budget, there is very little increase in any of this. So, I mean, even on the street expenditure, the budget for 2015 to 16 was $249,411. The recommended budget is $250,150. So there's, excuse the term, there's not a lot of,
everybody across the board, whether it was administration, water, police, streets, light plant, everybody took hits. So there's not a lot of fluff.
the point is, there's not a lot to debate, if you will.
But where the streets and the water and sewers, all that concerned, where do we have a fund for doing repairs? Savings account, so to speak, where we keep money for major repairs?
Right now, with the state of affairs, there's not extra money to be setting aside, Scott, in all honesty. So no. Now, the water sewer, those are enterprise funds, so they operate a little bit different than streets. Streets, the general fund. And as you see, we're in the general fund right now. There's not any excess there.
But that's what you just try to budget for, am I correct? I mean, you know there's going to be something come up, so you're budgeting money for that.
If we anticipate something, now the good thing with the streets is that, we haven't gotten to it yet, but you have the motor fuel tax. So that helps maintain streets, and you can deflect some of the money as long as you can get it approved by the state and pull out that fund. So the streets is a little bit different, but water, sewer, you guys know, I keep bringing you stuff for water, sewer, so you know what's going on there.
Well, I know we got water lines throughout downtown that are going to have to be replaced, and we got streets that are going to have to be worked on. So I'm wondering if we're planning for that in advance.
Well, planning and financially planning might be two different topics. I mean, we're always talking about the infrastructure improvements that need to be done. Then you have to get creative on where the fund's going to come from. So we realize, Scott, that there are issues out there. It is a matter of coming up with the funds to pull some of it off.
Scott, your point is there's a lot of repairs that need to be made.
There's a lot of repairs that need to be done.
And your point is we don't have the money.
Currently,
to invest, to save up for that, unless, of course, you look at,
Well, to go back to the Leroy, if we're going to be using Leroy to justify our police budget, we need to be using Leroy to justify saving some money for these
well, I don't know
infrastructure
if
improvements.
it's justifying the police budget. I think it's just looking at it as a comparison.
I've heard the comparison a lot.
but they might have different sources of revenue over there. Obviously, if you drive through Leroy, you'll see that
They've got a lot of businesses over there.
they have, out along the interstate, they're bringing in some cash. Their downtown isn't any different than our downtown. Quite frankly, I think we have a better downtown. So there's pluses and minuses. But the revenue that they are currently bringing off the interstate might be more revenue than what we're bringing off right now.
Their population is also growing.
Right.
I mean, they are increasing.
They're 1,100 larger than us, and that makes a difference.
And not only that, I mean, when you
So
look,
there's variables.
There's a lot larger
Understand
homes over there, they're paying more taxes over there too. I mean, it's just, it
Well,
is.
that's been my point all along, is that we can't pay out salaries based on what's going on around us. We got to pay out salaries based on what we have. And if we don't have it, then people should be looking to switch, quite frankly. We got to pay out what we have.
and what do you mean by switch?
Well, if we can't, be blunt about it, all right? If we can only pay so much per hour and another city can pay more, then that person should be looking to move to that city. Because we have to pay what we have. We can't be making up money.
The only issue with that, Scott, is that our people have to have the same certificates and training and everything that every other community has. And so, to a certain extent, you got to keep up with the Joneses. And I'm going to take Leroy out of the picture, if Fisher, who's a town basically the same size as us, if they're paying a water sewer man $35 an hour, and we're paying our man $16 an hour, we're going to lose our licensed man because the qualifications for our sewage and water system is the same from over there. And this guy would be a fool. So then we got to start from scratch because we're mandated to have that licensed person. So you have to stay competitive. And you don't have to stay above, but you at least have to stay competitive. So that's the other side of that. So we don't really want people to switch if that's the case. We have to stay as close as we can. You can't always keep up with the Joneses, but if the Smiths aren't too far behind, let's at least be with the Smiths. So.
Well, and one thing on the infrastructure, stuff like that, that's why, having like the business districts and TIP, we get that going again. I mean, that's why that's so important, to have those funds there, so that's bailed us out. Not bailed us out. That's helped us in the past to actually improve things where we've been in a lot of trouble we haven't been able to.
We're still on page 8. Any other questions on page 8? We move to page 9.
I have a question on parks,
Yes, sir.
because I don't see the other park on here.
Which page are you looking at?
Page 8, or I'm sorry, page 9, I see
Page
South
9.
Park.
There's park and then there's rec.
South Park is recreation.
South Park is rec. So
Okay.
that's your 2 parks.
Okay.
And this fund here, I'd have to get out my old records, is a lot less than what it used to be. There used to be a pretty good, if I remember right, 50, 60,000 in this fund,
Sure.
but it's a lot less now.
I assume this down at the bottom, South Park included the restrooms out there, correct?
Yes, because so far to date, that work out there, a lot of that work has been donated. So we don't have an expenditure yet for that. We will when the septic tank goes in. There was an estimate from a local contractor to put that in. Been kind of waiting for that work to get completed. And I think you saw that the contractor's back out there because his regular work is kind of lightened up now, so he's back out there. We've taken a lot of hits for the past numerous months about that, but when somebody's donating and working at their time, I've tried to deflect that and say, hey, just be patient, it'll get done, so.
It really speaks to the citizens of Farmer City, though. One of the reasons why our expenditure is low is because they take the, they take the initiative. They're building the parks, they're putting in that skate park, they're doing the work out there in South Park. So, the citizens absolutely love the park, and if it wasn't for them, I don't think that we would have, the parks that we do today. So. Page 10. This is also a park.
That's what we do.
Page 11, the pool.
I'll go back. Does that include mowing on the parks down there too?
Yeah, mowing is kind of a joint effort, so these funds are kind of drafted from several different areas.
All right. That's it. Sorry.
No, well, we can go back. I have no problem with that. Page 11.
Full-time salaries up there at the top. It looks like the recommended budget's way down. What's that from?
Well, because there again, if you look, the temporary salaries, it's been divided out. So it's just she's part-time. The full-time is only one person.
Okay.
And she'll be back again this year. I talked to her just yesterday. So your second line are your part-time temporary. So the dollar figure is still there.
So is that all combined together before,
Yeah.
just broken out now? Okay.
And this is one person's salary at the top here. The
Yes.
salaries, full-time employees.
Are you looking at the far right?
He's looking at the full-time employee. That's one person's salary, right? No. That was all of them pretty much combined, it looks like.
In the
He's
middle?
looking at the estimated 2015.
That was everybody
2016.
together.
That was all everybody together. So this is more of a breakout. And this would be one person's, this would be part-timers.
Okay.
And keep in mind that after the pool closed at the end of the year, there was a lot of painting and stuff that needed to be done up there that you can't necessarily do in the spring because it's concrete block walls, they're moist, blah, blah, blah. So I kept one of the lifeguards on and he painted for a month to 5 weeks. So we got a lot of that work done. So when you go in there this spring, it'll be a lighter, brighter, a little bit cleaner looking facility, so.
And we're open from basically Memorial Day to Labor Day.
In essence, the guys have been up there, they haven't seen anything that looks out of the ordinary, so there's always startup issues, but
Are we making any money on that pool?
No,
no.
I'm not making money, I mean, are we
No.
breaking even?
nope. You are bringing in 30,000 and you're spending 72. You lose 42,000. So this
Pool
is,
chemicals kill you guys.
Yeah,
Well, it's a service to the community.
sure.
It's just, you're
It
not,
brings people here, I understand that.
keep
Was there
bringing
a wall
up.
repair last year or something?
Temporary wall repair, after the guy who made the repairs, and it was Danny Crossville, he stepped up to the plate and helped us there in a pinch, and he made this thing could last you several years, so. Looking at it already, it looks like it's holding, so cross your fingers.
any questions to page 11? Page 12, we continue on with the pool. Any questions to page 12? Page 13. This is
Summary.
overview, summary.
So the general fund is going up by, I read this right, $1,000.
No, the general fund, total general fund expenditures is going up by around 40,000.
40,000.
37.
Talking about revenue.
Revenue, okay,
Revenue over
total.
expenditures would be carried over.
Okay.
So yeah, so this past year, 2015, 2016, this current year we're in, it looks like we've increased the general fund by $26,652. But then, with a flat budget, it looks like, it's only a potential increase of $950 for next year. But that is balanced at least, and it's not negative, so that's positive.
I want to ask you, I should ask this probably at the beginning. A lot of these lines have zeros all the way across. We're getting,
You're talking about throughout the entire budget?
throughout the entire budget.
Yes.
There's lines like miscellaneous expenses is 000.
Okay, so if you look at page 12,
Yeah.
which is right there to your left,
Right,
capital outlay, building acquisitions, improvements, zeros.
right.
There haven't been any, and we're not anticipating
Yeah.
any, so there's zeros.
Okay.
Any question at page 13? Page 14. If there's no questions to page 14, page 15, insurance. You also have motor fuel tax here as well. Were there any questions about motor fuel tax? Page 16. This is the IMRF and working cash. Any questions? Page 17. This is crossing guard and social security.
This is Steve's first year doing that. He's been doing a really good job of crossing there.
Yes, yeah, and I don't know what he makes an hour, I see what's here is for the total, but that job is a big responsibility. So I think he needs to be compensated well. I don't know what, like I said, it's $3,900, I don't know what that figures up to.
He gets, he actually, the salary is more than what we can tax for when we do our investigations, so.
All I'm saying is it's a big.
And it's one of those positions where you go up there, if he's there for a half an hour, he gets paid for the hour. We make it worth his while, it's just like an on-call person. So, as far as the compensation, I think he's very good with it, as far as what the rate is currently.
He gets an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon.
That's
is that right?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
And he's not required to be there now, so.
Moving on to page 18, this is the library, and this is the budget that they provided for us.
I will say that, just like everybody else, gentlemen, the library, with what we can do for them, they obviously needed more than this, or wanted more than this, but spreading it thin, there were cuts made everywhere. And the dollar figure that they gave us, they said that they actually came in a lot lower than last year than what they were asking for, so.
Yeah, I think the last 4 or 5 years, the budget they turned into us has been $61,400 or within a couple $100 of that. And they don't.
And they don't spend it.
They usually end up spending about 40.
And we help them out, when we can anyway, outside of the budget, so.
It's definitely, it's like the pool, it's something we definitely need to have.
It's a service.
Yeah.
Is the library connected to other libraries?
Yeah, part of that, I think it's called the Lincoln Trail system. And so if you have a card here in town, you can go to Mohammed's and the other libraries and use resources there as well.
That's a good service thing.
And they're having, they're just like everybody else, they're having trouble getting grants, all that money is dried up, so.
Yeah, I talked to Catherine quite a bit, and she's writing a lot of grants, but she receives the letter that says, hey, you got the grant money, but
I don't disagree that we need a library.
No, I know. She's just as frustrated as everybody else, I guess. Just sharing that because I've heard.
Moving on to page 19. Now, page 19 is a review as well. It shows the beginning balances and then the ending balances with the net change of the budget that has been provided. Are there any questions? Page 20, TIP funds, is TIP, that's TIP 1. There's not a lot to discuss there.
It's all zero.
It's all zero. So let's move on to page 21, TIP 2.
With the expenditures that you're expecting for this year, you're looking at a year-end balance of 580, about a little less than 600,000. Is that right, or is that taking into consideration the work we're planning on doing out there?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's somewhere
There. Yeah, this is your beginning balance.
Yep.
And then under other finance uses, there's an expenditure here.
Okay.
And that looks to cover
Yep. That's it.
that. And then that would be the balance in the end.
Okay.
Everybody see that? We move on to page 22. Enterprise funds. This is your revenue. Any questions? commissioner's note. Actually, it's a $35,000 decrease, what was estimated. And what we actually budgeted last year, which has reduced the amount that we recommended on the budget. Is there a reason why there was such a $35,000 discrepancy?
Out of the water,
Yeah, water revenues. It's not a discrepancy, it's just that we anticipated 400,000 and then we anticipate we're only gonna receive 365,000.
is that the transfer we made from water to sewer, Ruth?
No, it looks like the difference is in it's in the utility tax of what we received in for utility tax.
Okay.
It's a $9,000 drop there, yeah, what we expected. And then sales also went down from what we expected.
Yeah, it looks like the lion's share is the actual sales. We anticipated 280, we only received 255.
Yeah.
You didn't water your lawnmower, would you? Or take
We
a
didn't
shower?
have to last year, it was wet.
That's true. Yeah, pretty fun right there.
Well, I assure you, my son leaves the faucet on. We do our part.
Jeez.
Page 23.
I emailed Larry about this one, but the first line on the salary full-time employees went down. I was just making sure we weren't losing people like that, but it's a, go ahead, sorry.
Now, and Ruth brought this to me, but in order to make it work, water and sewer both, and you have a gentleman that is your water superintendent, and you've got those two employees as well. So part of his salary was taken out of water, transferred over to the sewer side. So no, you're not losing personnel. It was to make the water budget work. So.
Yeah, we want to keep him around. I like him.
I do. When it comes to performance, I think he performs exceptionally well.
What are we talking about?
Calvin.
Yeah.
You don't hear anybody talk bad about Calvin.
Yeah. And then we're talking about licensing. Chad just got his license also, so he's getting there too. So that'll be good to have two
Right.
people with
And he's
licenses.
stepping up, be challenging another test here real soon. So.
Thank you for keeping on that. We need to make sure we have redundancy there on licensing.
Any questions on 23 then? 24? We're still in the water fund.
Like to think we're getting ahead, we've had so many projects, water, sewer, both, sometimes it's kind of hard to decide which one's which, but one thing that we're going to have to look at that water tower sometime. If you remember, 2 years ago, we had it draining and we had it inspected on the inside. It was one of the EPA mandates, and we're going to have to get that done sometime. I don't know we're going to be able to get that done this year. As you see, it needs washed again. That's not a major expense, but those things are up there, and it says something about your community when you don't keep your water tower looking nice. As far as any new water main installations, anything that we're doing out there on the west side to serve those people out there. So, and that doesn't come out of this fund, but fortunately, we're improving our infrastructure, but the water fund's not taking a hit for it this year. So, other than that, it's status quo.
With no questions on page 24, page 25, we're moving on to the sewer fund. This is your income. On page 26 and page 27, review at the same time. You should have an insert of the new page 27. So this is your sewer expenses. We'll do both of them at the same time, page 26 and page 27. Were there questions regarding either one of these pages?
On total personnel services, we got 55,000, then it goes to 49,000, then it jumps up to 87,000 for this year's budget. So
That was the,
We brought it over. We brought Calvin over out of the water.
what you're talking about just a minute.
Yes, sir.
So we had, decrease underwater is the increase in sewer.
What was the reason for the changes on this page?
There's if you look at the top of the page that's in your booklet, you'll see that the numbers don't, in the middle column, that's the 2015-16, the numbers don't add up, so the system just dropped some of those numbers. So this is actually a corrected numbers with the page I handed you out, and I can make you another one.
I got it.
So if you do the math there, Scott, you'll see that up at the top, that 162, you can't start out with that and end up with the 91. So
Okay.
somebody caught that, and Ruth made the corrections.
Where'd that depreciation go?
Yeah. Same thing.
you have depreciation,
We were planning ahead, okay? If you, this is going to get up on another subject, but it actually covers this as well. But if you saw the city manager's report, you saw in there where I talked about the chlorination, the effluent at the sewage treatment plant. So we were planning ahead. Well, in order to make this thing work, that had to leave in order to be able to come out with a balanced budget.
Okay.
So it's gone. And that's why we're also asking for an extension from the EPA.
any questions to page 26 and 27? Moving on to page 28, and this is the electric fund.
I don't seem to have page 28.
I think it's, is it,
Oh,
It was on the back of the 27 you pulled.
I just did the front, I'm sorry.
Oh,
No, he doesn't have a page 28, period.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
it's on the, yeah, it's on the back of that one.
We'll make it.
Got it, Red?
Yeah.
He's got it, he's got it.
Yeah.
I got one question down here. I just got a big swing. Total maintenance services, it's in the middle of 29, then 108,000, goes to 22,000. Recommended for this year is 25,000. Is that just expenses or?
I'm sorry, I don't know where you're at.
Page 29.
He's looking at maintenance service. We anticipated, am I right, 50,000 in equipment, 50,000 in the system, yet we did not
Use
did
that.
not use that this last year.
Okay.
So it looks like I guess we're just not anticipating $100,000 in equipment or systems this next year. Correct?
And I believe, yes, and part of that too is that last year when these were done, that somebody had thought that putting that 50,000 there was for purchasing equipment when it actually wasn't. So that's why that was put in there and no, it was not used.
Any other questions on page 29? We continue on with utilities, page 30 and 31. These will be the final two pages.
It's anticipated that our utilities will continue to go down in every department. Street department pays for the street lights. We're slowly going to upgrade to LEDs. There's an initial upfront cost, but the savings is there towards the end. We're trying to become more efficient. Even looking at here in the building, I've talked to Mark about changing these lights. These lights were changed a couple years ago under a IMEA grant, but we're looking at possibly bringing LEDs into here as well. So we're always looking ahead to that kind of thing. And you remember correct, we improved down here on Main Street. So as we go along. IMEA does have a refrigerator program to save utility costs, so we participate in that. Fuel costs really change as well, so.
Obviously, fuel costs is going to fluctuate with the price of fuel. I mean,
Yes.
we're going to see that with natural gas too.
Right. What the guys generally do is they kind of keep an eye on the market. We can touch base with IMEA, see if they know of anything that's going on out there. So the tank, because when we purchase a tank load, get a little bit of the savings there. So we see how that market's going before we do that. Generally, right at the end of fall, before winter months get here, we're going to load up. That way we're prepared. We don't want to get caught with an ice storm or a snowstorm by any means. And then the usage in the summer depends on how many times, if it's a hot summer, IMEA may call, we may have to generate more. Last year we didn't generate very much at all. And then the guys can go online for training. So there's some fuel costs that you don't really plan for.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but when they go online for training, it generates fuel costs. I didn't follow that.
We're generating, so we're using fuel.
You said when the guys go online for training.
Yes, when they fire up those generators.
Oh.
When they are trained on getting those things online.
Oh, okay.
So there's your diesel, because those fire up on diesel, Scott.
Right.
And then after then they get going, then they switch over to natural gas. So depending on how many times a year, and we're only allotted so much training a year, we can only be online with those generators because you're putting power back out there into the grid.
Right.
We upset the whole grid throughout the United States. And so we have to be careful there. We have to have permission to train. So.
I have a question. I mean, this is all right, but when it comes to moving funds from one section to another, how is that authorized?
Well, it depends on what you need from one section to another.
Well, in making the budget balance, and this was a conversation we had, you said you just if this is a little short, you take a little out of here, you put it over there. How do we justify moving money around, sweeping money from one place to another?
Well, then, part of that was employees. He's employed in 2 different departments, so you can legally move him from department to department because he's working from both departments. If you go into administration, and we're not done with electric. If you go into administration and building maintenance is running, we're running over on building maintenance, but we still need to make those repairs. As long as it's under the commodities, and I'm just pulling something out here, as long as it's in the same group, Scott, then we can pull that money from one line to another.
Okay.
You're not going to pull it from sewer to the park district.
No, you can't do that.
Everything stays in the fund.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Cannot do that.
Okay, I understand that.
Any other questions?
We're not,
I don't have that page.
capital outlay, last page, 31.
Oh, we were doing 30 and 31 together. No,
Okay,
that's
well, we
fine.
need to
You had
discuss
statements?
31.
Yeah, well, please.
Okay. I'm going to get shot if we don't discuss 31.
Let's,
Capital outlay you have there, Mayor. For several years now, or past 2 or 3, I should say several, the guys have been needing to upgrade the equipment out there. They need a new bucket truck. The truck that you see, the larger one that Russ Pearl generally drives, is considerably old. When we asked what the value of that truck was, it's worth about $15,000, and the new truck is almost $200,000. So that tells you that it's time to make it go away. We did put some funds in there to make the initial down payment. And I will tell you right now that those trucks take a year to build. They're like a fire truck. They just don't sit around on lots. There is one currently being built down in Springfield. So if the city would want to proceed, after we go through the process, of course, with that particular truck or a truck, now's the time to get the ball rolling. If we have to build one, we're a year out. If this truck down there is built to specifications that will work for us, then we need to proceed that way. Obviously, we would finance the balance of it, so that is what the capital outlay is. And I will tell you that I'm going to be bringing that to you in the future for a new bucket truck.
And that's the 75?
That's correct. That's a large chunk on a down payment on a, and there again, you could use a trade-in, so.
That's what we budgeted for last year, right? And we just didn't spend it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they've wanted one for a couple of years, but, you know, we've had other things going on out there at the light plant. And with the bond issue, we've always wanted to make sure that we didn't have too many expenditures in the light plant. We've always wanted to keep that thing solid, that fund solid. So.
Down there at Clinton, I guess they sell bucket trucks.
Those are forestry trucks, so really not, I mean, we've checked with them before, and I know Rick checked with them before. The only problem is those are used trucks. So, I don't know if you've ever seen those things come through. They're road hard and they're put away wet. They get a quick paint job and make them look pretty, and then they ship them all over the United States. It's not something that you want your men up working around high voltage or any electric lines with, so. But those are more forestry trucks now.
I mean, I'm not opposed to our guys having good equipment, it's what we can afford.
I know Martin Auction sells off bucket trucks periodically too.
And that's where the truck West Pearl is driving needs to go, Martin Auction.
Right. I wonder if, you know, if some of the trucks come through there could be evaluated, maybe they're better condition or.
Than what we have?
Yeah.
Well, the only problem is you're going to buy a truck, then you don't know if it's going to pass certification. So, and once you buy it, you buy it.
Right.
Now, fortunately, we've been able to keep these trucks certified. They get inspected twice a year. And I don't mean safety lane, I mean for voltage. So,
Is the bucket truck is that kept at the plant also?
they're inside the warehouse directly behind the light plant, yes.
Yeah.
All those trucks are in the building.
Okay.
There was something the Hildreth mentioned to me about a piece of equipment. I don't know if that's what but anyways, when he was doing work down there on Richardson Street, and I said, bring it up. I don't, you might have talked to Calvin, you know. Well,
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll find out.
yeah, talked to Calvin, and we were down there working, he said, we really need whatever it was, I don't remember. And I said, well,
Are there general questions to the budget? Or statements or comments?
Glad you guys brought a balanced budget to us again. It's much better than having to fight through to try to take something that's negative and put it back together, so thank you.
this is so much better than what I was involved with. And how many times I heard, I don't know. You heard it. He's no longer here.
I can tell you that departments don't like the budget, but it is what it is.
Well, it's,
You know, because the guys are always looking out for the best interest of the city. This equipment needs replaced, that equipment needs updated, whatever. And sometimes it just doesn't happen, so.
I still think we need to look at cutting back as much as we can. I hate to see anything go up, but I think this is all right.
yep, did a fine job.
That's great.
I wrote notes on things that we need to be focusing on over the next year then, based on some of the comments that you have all made. I think one of the things that we as a council, and hopefully our city manager is focused on in the next year is really increasing the population, because the fact of the matter is, every single year, the maintenance that needs to be done in this community is going to continue. I mean, it's going to be more and more demanding. We're going to need to spend major amounts of money, and we just don't have it coming in. And that's because of the population that we have. So, the future of Farmer City is either going to be where can we cut, and what expenses can we get rid of, and how can we decrease, or how can we grow this community so that we can get the things done that we need to do. These are going to be important discussions in the future. So, is there anything else to the budget?
Well, we're gonna have to start looking at the water lines downtown and stuff like that. I think that if we can get the guys to take on more responsibility, we can justify more equipment purchases. If they can save us money over contractors.
I threw that out there, and you know, we've all kind of been thrown under the bus on people don't think that our men are qualified or that we have the proper equipment to do some of this work. This year we're going to do it. So we're laying water main and we're installing sewer.
And that's what I'm saying, if they can save $100,000, you know, over a contractor, then I think we can justify the equipment purchase.
That puts a big chunk down on that piece of equipment
Yeah.
that they need in the future, or
And I have
We
no
want
doubt,
our guys to be able to do it.
And they want to do it.
That's,
So
I think there's value in training and there's value in them doing it.
we've got some young people, and that's great, and we've got some older people to teach those young people, and in time, we're gonna get more young people. And that's why, in my opinion, we have to have good wages, because, quite frankly, I want the Farmer City kids to stay here, rather than go somewhere else.
turnover's not good.
I will tell you that a year from now, gentlemen, Farmer City, the city needs to start making some hiring. That's because you have an older workforce.
You're thinking 6 or 7, right?
And that's a very strong possibility if you start looking at the age of your employees. And at any given time, you could have 3 or 4 walk out. And whether that would all be in one department or not, that's a heck of a blow, because you don't have a large core of employees to begin with. So you're going to have to double up, and you're going to have to bring in these young guys so they can be trained. It's just like Chad with his water license. In order for somebody to challenge the sewer test, you have to be on the job for 6 years. So for 6 years, you've got to be shadowing somebody. So we've hired Trenner, and he's out there. Hopefully he'll stay 6 years so he can challenge the test. So, I mean, there's how we want to run business and how the EPA tells us we're going to run business, or any regulatory office. Police department's under regulations as well. So we need to be keeping that in mind, that come next year, we really need to start talking about that. That'll hit your budget awfully hard, but it has to be done.
Well, we're going to have to figure out other cuts, because we can only pay what we can pay, and that's where it's at.
Well, starting wages would be lower anyway,
I understand.
but you're going to have to double up for a while. I would not want to live in a town where 4, 5, 6 guys, all, and ladies, said, hey, we're retiring, and now you have no workforce. That would be devastating.
We've got several that are getting to that point. I mean, I know at the electric plant, you've got a couple. I mean, there's just...
All but one in the light plant is the same age group. All but one. All of us in City Hall, we're the same age group. 2 in the street department, the same age group. It could happen.
Well, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen in a year, 2 years, 5 years, it's gonna happen.
And so even as important as it is to think about infrastructure, employees. So, just want to...
Anything else to the budget? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
A motion.
Second.
Call it.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Hahn?
Yes.
Harden?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
Motion carried.